ProCare is going to have a channel on the Foresight platform, which I'm super excited about. And we spent partly with the ProCare team, partly with you and the rest of the leadership team at ProCare, sort of brainstorming, workshopping. The name of the show, which is From Cost to Culture. Talk to me a little bit about why that name is so important.
Yeah, we're super excited to be able to do it. And two, I think one of the things that we've seen, and I think everyone who's in this industry knows, is the number one cost for senior living communities and operators are their people, right? And so they're spending a lot of money on staff, but it's more than just a cost center. It's like, how are you building that culture? How are you creating an environment where you're getting the right people in, you're retaining those people, and you're building this sense of culture long term? And so we help give them the tools to be able to do that. And so I think for us, it's about not just this being a cost center, but how can this be a differentiator for your organization long term when you're creating a culture that attracts and retains talent?
Right. And one more sort of question relative to the channel. If in terms of what kind of major themes can people look forward to in the content that ProCare will be creating?
Yeah, so our goal is to talk with operators, to bring in people who have experience in this industry, and share some stories from the front lines, share some things that worked, share some things that didn't work, and help people just get ideas for being better operators overall. And so we'll share some of those examples, and then some tactical takeaways that people can use to help drive their organization forward.
I am really excited about this interview today. As most of you know, you should know, about 6-7 months ago, ProCare HR purchased Senior Living Foresight. And so we are now Foresight powered by ProCare. The most recent addition to the leadership team at ProCare HR is Shawn McKee, who is the new Chief Marketing Officer. And so I thought it would be really interesting to have a conversation with Shawn, because he came to ProCare outside the senior living industry. And so he's got kind of a fresh view on what he's seen. And you've been on for how long? 4 weeks now?
Yeah, about, let's see, a little over 2 months at this point. So it's between traveling to shows and meeting people, it's been a whirlwind. So super excited to be here, and glad to talk to you, Steve.
Great. So what I'd like to actually start with is a little bit of background. Who are you? What's your expertise? What's your passion?
Yeah. So, I've been focused on marketing for, I guess, 20 plus years. And I started my career in sales, selling newspaper advertising, which was a great place to be in the early 2000s as things moved away from print. But learned a ton, worked with a lot of kind of small businesses and things like that. And so really kind of got to know what it's like for people running small businesses and how to market for them. From there, moved into digital content creation, and then moved into focusing on vertical businesses, primarily in the software space and healthcare. And so did that for about a decade, focusing on physician practices, physical therapy clinics, things like that. And so really started to get an understanding of healthcare and all the complexities there. And so the things I really enjoyed was helping to grow these businesses. And at my core, I'm a builder. I like to take all the pieces and create the engine that helps drive a business and a business to tell its story. And when I was working in healthcare, I realized there's all these really massive problems for us to solve. I mean, I think we all experience healthcare as patients or for someone in our family, but then you start to understand it from the provider side as well, and realize the complexities they deal with, whether it's Medicaid reimbursements or Medicare, all these things that they've got to deal with. And so, I got really into helping to solve those problems and to help bridge that gap between the providers and the people they care for. And from there, I moved in. I did some work in the banking space, and that was super interesting. Again, very compliance and regulatory rich, very complicated industry, but it didn't have the same draw for me, the same mission. I didn't feel like I was really helping people in the way I wanted to, and so had Brett and the team reach out, and they shared what they were doing at ProCare, and I got pretty excited about it. It's a great business with Steve and his team on board. It was something that I thought, okay, well, this is a great opportunity to take a really excellent solution and help tell their story in the market, in a market that's desperately in need of this type of a service.
Terrific. So I think that there are a lot of people, if you're watching this, people watching this, they probably already know who I am. They know Foresight. They know well. A lot of people know that ProCare exists, that Foresight is powered by ProCare. And they probably started, obviously it's in the name. ProCare has something to do with HR solutions. Talk to me a little bit about what ProCare does. So why would I care what ProCare does if I'm a senior living leader?
Yeah, so ProCare offers really a complete HR solution. So gives teams really a deep level of expertise when it comes to workforce strategy, to talent acquisition, to compliance. So all these things that teams have to deal with, and typically they may have a couple people in house, things like that. We've got a huge team of people. 70% of our employees come from senior living, so they understand the problems, they understand the pain points, and so you end up with this team that is an extension of your organization and your group that handles all the complexities of payroll and HR and all these different things. So you can really focus on providing the best possible care and best possible experience for your residents. And so really lets the organization and the staff there focus on those key aspects instead of the complexities of managing all the HR and those type of things.
So as you went into this, you obviously had to make two big evaluations. One was about ProCare. I'm not surprised that you said yes to ProCare, because I said yes to ProCare when I saw Foresight. But the second evaluation you had to do is you had to look at the industry and say, is senior living a place I want to go put my energy and time? And you obviously said yes to that. Can you talk to me a little bit about why?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's one of those things that, if you're listening to the news, you hear a lot about it, right? The silver tsunami. And the more I started to look into kind of what's happening from a healthcare perspective, I worked 2 companies ago in the physical therapy space. And that was one of the major market drivers there, as well as you've got this aging population that wants to stay active. And so, you see something similar here, which is you've got an aging population. You've got, I think we were at a conference, the census numbers are through the roof. There's a ton of space needed. And then I started to dig in a little bit more and realized, and there's also a lot of people needed to take care of all these residents, and that is one of the major limiting factors in this organization, which is a problem that ProCare helps solve. And so, when I looked at sort of the intersection of where the industry is going, where the population is going, and these really big problems to solve, that really helps paint a picture of like, okay, we've got a big problem we can solve. We can help a lot of people. And to me, that's a huge, exciting opportunity.
Cool. I like that a lot. So you've talked to a bunch of operators at this point. You've been to a bunch of senior living conferences in the last couple months as you've been with it. You've come into the senior living space with fresh eyes. What are the things that, as you've talked to people, as you've looked at what's going on, what are the things that you see that just really get you excited? And we're going to look at the other side too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, when I look at this industry, I think it's like a lot of industries, right? It's people want to grow their business. They want to deliver an excellent product. And to do that, they need the right people. We were at a conference a couple of weeks ago, and they asked one of the panelists there, a CEO of an organization, you're growing your business, you want to double it in the next 5 to 10 years. What's going to stop you? And his answer right away was people. Like, do I have the right people? Do I have enough people? And so when I look at that, this is not an industry where you can replace all those people with AI or robots or anything like that yet. So, and I don't think anytime soon. And so, we've just got a lot of headwinds for the industry. So how do we help them solve those problems? I also think, you've got an increased, the population that's going to be utilizing those services continues to grow. And it's really such an important thing, right? Like it's like a sensitive population that we're trying to take care of, right? It's a really important thing that's being done for a group of the population that I think deserves to be treated really, really well. And so I think you've got the market tailwinds, but you've also got sort of the mission driven aspect of it, which I think brings a lot of people in and gets a lot of people really, really excited about it. And I think when you've got people passionate about what they're doing, it makes a huge difference in the product that's put out there.
Yeah. And I would say that, I would concur with what you're saying. I think one of the things I particularly love about the industry that I think I hear coming from you is this idea that the people who are operating these communities are really, really passionate about the business and about the people.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
So when you look at it, you sit back, and what are the things that you go, I wonder, this seems like it should be better?
That's a good question. I think there's been a couple interesting conversations that I've had with people. And like an example, which is maybe kind of a silly one, is we talked to somebody who really focused on like delivering really delicious food. So that's like, right. It's a thing that seems simple, but is like a minor detail. And I think when you scale up, maybe you lose sight of that a little bit, right? Like, are you delivering food the way it should be? I think, we also, in some of the things I've been to, I've heard a lot about kind of buildings that are being acquired and they're kind of distressed. What do they call them? Distressed assets, I think. So I think there's probably a lot of operators that are struggling to deliver the quality that they want to deliver or that they should be delivering. And so I think it's just how do we continue to level that up by having the right people there in the building. But I think that's like most industries. You're going to have great doctors, you're going to have great mechanics, you're going to have sort of all different levels, and in some cases you're not. And so I think that the big challenge that I see is just from a people perspective. Are there enough people? Do we have the right people? How do we motivate those people to deliver the best possible experience.
Imagine that you're, I don't know exactly how old you are, but let's say you're 40 years down the road. You've got, I know you've got kids right now, but you're now grandpa, and maybe you might even be staring down being close to being a great grandpa. Probably not, but maybe. And it's time for you to think about senior living. Tell me about the senior living you think you would like to live in 40 years from now, or 50 years from now, or whatever it is.
Yeah. So that's a good question. I think, a lot of the way I'm thinking about things, and I'm 45 now, so I'd be, my mid 80s at that point. I think I'm now at a point where I'm starting to think really long term about things, right? And so it's less about intensity and more about consistency. So I think for me, it's thinking about, I would want an environment where I have a lot of social interaction. I have like active things to do. I'm sort of not sitting just watching TV, but I'm getting outside and going for walks and doing different things. So I mean, what I would be looking for is a place that's got a good community built in, and a lot of people that I can engage with in different activities to keep me busy. I think I think that's kind of like whether you're in a senior living community or at home, you want to be around those people and be able to be part of that community, I think.
So what's so great about that answer? And as you're talking about it, my head is actually completely spinning, because operators and developers spend so much time building these fancy buildings that look lovely. But I realized as you were talking that what mostly people talk about is going into buildings where they can have better community and better relationship. Mm-hmm. And so I'm thinking that maybe we're focusing on the wrong thing. And I'm not saying you want to have ugly buildings. And even on, people don't really even talk about, you didn't mention, you obviously assume good food, decent food, but you're not saying, I got to have gourmet dining, right?
Right.
So
yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's I just went on this trip, and we stayed at a hotel that was, perfectly fine. It had a comfortable bed, a hot shower, and the free breakfast was decent, right? But I was there with a bunch of people I cared about, and it was so it made the trip, right? You definitely want a place that's in good condition and the food is decent, but I think at the end of the day, it's like, are you engaged in things that you want to do with people you want to do them?
So now we're going to shift gears here for a second. So you're 45. Your parents are probably not old enough to really be ready for senior living for another 10 or 15 years, likely, not knowing, where you are, your birth order and all of that. But at some point in time, it very is likely your parents are going to need senior living way before you do. As you think about helping them figure the senior living thing out, what would you want for them? Maybe what advice would you give them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, it's definitely something that, so I'm the oldest of two. So my brother and I have kind of started to talk about and joke about, right? Like, mom's going to go live with you, kind of a thing. But I think at the end of the day, maybe we're 10, 15 years out from that. I think it's an environment where my mom's still very social. So where she's got friends that she can spend time with, things she can do. She's still pretty active. So an environment like that, I think, at the end of the day, it would be looking at how are they providing services and care today, identifying, what's most important to her. I mean, I would definitely want to really understand what is kind of what are their core values and how do they think about the way they're caring for their residents. And then I guess how do they communicate with the family as well, right? If there are things going on, this is definitely having come to ProCare HR. This is not a thing I thought about a whole lot before joining, and so it's been in the past, 60 or so days, really starting to understand. Oh, this is coming, and I think someone said, every older person can understand what it's like to be young, but a young person can't understand what it's like to be old. And I think starting to think, okay, well, I've got to really understand what she would want. And then how do I make sure I feel comfortable giving her those things?
I like that a lot. So I want to talk a little bit more about why senior living operators should be talking to ProCare. Ultimately, as a chief marketing officer, you are, in a very real sense, the chief storyteller for ProCare. And we don't, at least traditionally, we haven't necessarily seen it that way, but that's really what a chief marketing officer does. So what's the big story that people should think about when people are looking? They're in their buildings, they're operating, they're doing their own HR thing, and probably it's not going as well as they'd like. They don't really know what to do about it. So what would you say to those folks?
Yeah, I think, what I've seen over my career in any industry that I've been in, we all focus on the thing we're passionate about and what we're really good at. And so when I think about senior living, it's like this delivery of care and delivery of the experience to the residents, and whether you're focused on, having the best food, or you've got these unique communities that are customized for certain groups, or whatever it is. Like focusing on the thing that you care most about and that you're passionate about, I think really helps an organization grow. Right? They're focused on their key differentiators and the key things that matter most to them and to their residents. HR is one of those things that is complicated and full of growing pains, right? As you add people, I mean, for all of these organizations, their major cost is the people. So are they as efficient as they could be? Do they have too much overtime? Are they using agency too much? All these things start to add up that, one, impact your employees. And when it starts to impact your employees, it starts to impact your residents. And so, helping organizations focus on the things that matter, which are really their employees, their residents, and their growth. Right. Most of these organizations are really focused on, we're adding additional communities, we're acquiring, and giving them the tools they need to do that efficiently without adding a lot of headcount that don't necessarily drive an improvement in the care delivered. They just drive up costs. So for us, it's really like, how can we help them how can we help our clients reach their goals without having to add a lot of back office headcount or the learning curve that it takes when you're trying to ramp up an HR program.
Cool. So a couple things I want to dig onto you personally a little bit. What is it that you love to do for fun?
Oh, I have 3 kids, so I spend a ton of time with my kids doing all different sort of things. We enjoy hiking, skiing, swimming. I coach my son's flag football team. He's 8. Travel, take the family different places. I enjoy reading. I do jujitsu, which is a fun way to solve problems and try to stay active. So I just like to get out and try to stay active and exercise and, spend as much time with my kids as I possibly can. I read something that by the time your kids turn 18, you have spent 90% of the time you're going to spend with them. And that was like, oh, okay, well, I better make the most of it. So yeah, I mean, that's spend time with family and try to get away from screens and out of the house as much as we can.
Cool. Okay, a couple more questions for fun. If your leadership style were a weather pattern, what would it be? Sunshine, thunderstorm, steady rain, fog, tornado, something else?
That's an interesting one. I would say maybe like cool overcast. I am a pretty practical, mellow, kind of just like slow and steady type of person. Like I like to move relatively quickly, but I also it's more about kind of back to what I said earlier. It's more about consistency over intensity. And so it's just how do you keep moving things forward?
Cool. Okay. And one more, just for fun.
Sure.
If your leadership style were a vehicle, what would it be? A pickup truck, race car, minivan, bulldozer, bicycle, school bus, classic car, or something?
That's a good one. I'd probably be, maybe I would do like, I'll get specific here. Maybe it's like a 79 Bronco. So, classic. It's not super fast, but it drives over stuff and you can load it up with people and get where you need to go. It's hard to stop.